soars, I will fly high above the storm. Yeah, yeah. I will fly like an eagle that soars. I will fly high above the storm. Yeah. Ooh. Like an eagle that soars, I will not die, but I'll rise above the storms of life. I will fly high, yeah, above the storms of life. Ooh, I will fly high, yeah, oh, above the storms of life. Storms come as tests.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Darron O'Neal Show. I am your host, Darron O'Neal, where we are here to encourage, empower, and help evolve you to the next level of your life. Listen, today is one of the days where we talk about determination, we talk about strategy, we talk about tools. Other than that, I have someone who is coming on who's going to be able to just share a piece of his life of where he was, where he began, all the way to now. And so, with those who have been accustomed to the Darron O'Neal Show, you know that we are here to give you whatever it is that's going to push you to the next step, to take that next step. Many of us, including the show, is, we're starting out, we're pushing out, and, we're doing what we have to do to make things work. And so I believe that this next guest is coming up. He's going to be able to share a piece of his life, man, that's going to be able to encourage us and empower us, for the next move. So without further ado, I want to bring on a young man by the name of Raheem Cannon with the Cannon Movement. So, bro, thank you so much, man, for coming on, and I appreciate you.
Oh, of course, man. Of course, man. I'm excited to be here.
Man, first of all, I want to say you started out, I started watching you actually via Facebook, actually. I heard about the Cannon Movement, and I kind of wanted to keep my eye on it to see, what is it that you do and things like that, and still, pretty interested in what you do. But then I was trickled over to your YouTube page, and I saw that, you vlog, you do all kinds of great things, and you started out like we all humble beginnings all the way up to now. So can you kind of just give us an input on, number one, who is Raheem Cannon?
Oh, no, for sure, man. First of all, it's always crazy when people, talk about you or whatever, and you're there for it. So I'm like listening, like, hey, yeah, that is me. I did do that. Okay, that's what's up. You know what I mean? Like just listening. I'm like, oh yeah, that's what's up. But nah, so obviously humble beginnings. I started out in a small town called Huntsville, Georgia. When I was there and I was growing up there, I didn't claim that I was from there because I just felt like it was so small town. So my family was from Philly. So I always just say, yeah, I'm from Philly. Like, even though I was born right there in that small town or whatever, I just felt like it was so uncool to say that I'm from there. And then once I grew up, I'm more proud to say, yeah, I'm from, Huntsville or whatever at this point. But yeah, definitely humble beginnings. I grew up to a single mother who worked extremely hard to make sure that we never lacked, and just was incredible. Just growing up and stuff like that. So it really makes me admire strong women, especially, single mother women or whatever. I'm just like, yo, y'all killed it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you'll always see different giveaways that my wife and I'll do. Just as far as, just trying to give back to people in those situations because, I grew up in that type of situation, so I understand it. Just to, dive a little bit into the personal side of it. Obviously, business-wise, when I was 16, man, and I'll start off the whole thing like this. When I was 16 years old, I always told people, like, I'm at one point, I'm never going to work for anybody past the age of 30, right? I was like, I'm going to make that happen no matter what. You know what I'm saying? We're going to make this pop. And for me, that was like a mantra. Like I would do certain things. I work at certain places, no matter how well I did in these places. I was like, in the back of my head, I'm like, by 30, I still want to make sure I'm not working for anyone. So I need to be setting things up in place in the meantime to get to that point. So, you know, obviously rewind a little bit. When I started out in sales, which was Cricket Wireless, actually. So I did that for 3 years. I did Sprint for 3 years, did Verizon for like 3 years. So all the cell phone companies, I was the top dog, killing it. And it just, growing up, they called it like the gift of gab. As I got more into church again, with Vision Next and Richmond Center, actually, I learned that it was just, my speaking was anointed. So that was like a transformation for me. I realized that that was my gift. I realized that, I can have these different businesses and stuff, but at the end of the day, my speaking is what's going to take me, overseas. It's going to take me nationwide, which is the reason why I was like, you know what, I have to, start doing more YouTube videos. And I started that whole transformation and just kind of went through that, process. But everything I learned previously helped me to be a successful entrepreneur and, not work for anyone, and be able to just focus strictly on my passions and what I love to do each and every day.
Wow. So so did you feel like you was going to be like, are you a motivational speaker? Are you, doing all of that? Because I see the business side of you, you're working on the credit. And then, like I said, going back in history, you started talking about your personal health and, you matriculating through that. And then you started reading other books and you started teaching on that, giving your opinion and your belief system on those things. And then now it's like, it's like a scale. You started here, and then on YouTube, it's like you jumped here, and now you're here. So, like, what is
Mm.
that in between? What was that process like?
No, that's a great question. So it's interesting because for me, I always believe that you're not going to teach someone or share anything that you're not an expert on. So I've never been the type of person to say, okay, this is how you do X, Y, and Z, and I've never done it. So when I first started out with the Canon movement, it was all about, and in my mind, if you looked at the symbol or the logo or everything, it's progression, right? It's moving forward, in every aspect of your life. I wanted to embody that. Even though I wasn't as proficient in certain areas, I focused on the areas that I was proficient in. So fitness was the area that I was most proficient in at the time because I was still learning about, business, real estate, investing, things of that nature. So with that being said, when I went back and I looked, the biggest struggle that I had at that time, or the biggest, I guess, obstacle that I overcame was fitness, because I was, really out of shape at one point. I was a skinny kid coming out of high school, probably like a buck 10. I was still 6 feet, 6'1" or whatever, or 6'1". And when I got to like 22, I was just, and people probably seen these in my stories, but I'm sharing it here as well. I was eating like crazy, you know what I'm saying? Like a ton of double stuffed Oreos, just whatever. And I ballooned, I got really big, and I had never really worked out like that. So that just took a lot out of me or whatever, just weight wise, just seeing it and being like, man, like this is this is a whole different what I'm saying, type of weight. It just feels different because you're not used to it. I went from 110 to 220, 230, 240. So if you think about that, that swing is crazy.
Yeah.
So my energy was down, but I was still performing at a pretty good level as far as just, my job and things of that nature when I used to work. So when I look back on it, I was like, okay, I need to change this because this is going to affect other aspects of it. And people don't understand, like when your weight is a certain way, it affects your mental as well. So, I wasn't able to really focus or have the same sort of like happiness that I had previous to it. So one of the things that I wanted to focus on was, look, we're going to change this.
Yeah.
And we're going to make it happen. Then once I changed it, I was like, okay, now I want to help other people do the same, because I realized how much of a transformation it was for me, just changing certain habits to make that happen, if that makes sense. Oh, and you know what? You also asked me this question. I'm going to make sure I answer it. You asked me, I feel like I missed one of the questions you asked me, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just talking about the jump from where you started, and then from you teaching the books, and then now you're like the canon movement. But my thing is, the question that popped in my mind as you were talking. I know you said from your younger years, you said you will always be this speaker, you will always travel the world and things like that. But my question is, when did you know that your gift had the ability to literally change your life, like change your income, change your business, your family? When did you discover that?
Man, that's such a powerful question. Honestly, I would say probably within the last 3 years. I was just like, man, like this is it. Like this is the moment. Um, whenever you leave, like I was comfortably making over six figures. You know what I mean? Like in my career for most of my career,
Hmm.
just in different jobs and sales. It's just because I was a high performer. It wasn't because my base salary was that. It was just literally because I was a high performer. And you got paid off the commission, and that was one of the things that always killed me in the back of my head because it's like whenever you're working for someone and you're doing commission, you realize, okay, I'm making, maybe 0.01% of what I'm actually selling. And once it's over, the next month, you got to do it all over again. And you have no residual from that. So that was one of the things that used to kill me with constantly being in sales because I was like, all right, I know I can make it happen, but how can I make it happen and still benefit from this forever? So that was one of the things that I strive for within business, just, make sure you get residual. But going back to your question, like I found like, so once I left and I said, okay, I'm using the same, like octave, the same strategies, the same, speaking, conversations that I was doing before, but I'm just utilizing it for my own business. So, and when I'm doing that, people are still very receptive to me, just like they were when I was working for someone else. And I was like, all right, well, it's the same exact thing. It's just that I'm doing it for myself now. And people are buying into me because my whole life, and then it kind of a light bulb went off. I was like, my whole life, I've been great at sales, but it wasn't because, Verizon was great or Sprint was great or whatever. It was because I was great. People bought into me and who I was as a person and me being able to be empathetic to whatever situation they had and actually understand like, okay, this is where this person is and not just put like one box fits all type situation. So I realized that, me speaking to people was changing people's lives. Even if it was in sales or if it was in just, giving advice, motivation, people always looked up to me. And I was like, all right, well, I have a responsibility to make sure, and that's where the books came into play as well, to make sure that I'm constantly growing as an individual. So when people are looking up to me, I can give them more knowledge, I can give them more game because I went and, made myself a more valuable person to do that. So it just kind of all came full circle. And that's kind of how the Canon movement, evolved to where it's at today.
I have a saying, and that saying is who you around, whether if it's who you study, who you read, who you model, who you kind of glean from determines, or it helps determines in the area where you're trying to go or to succeed in. Who are some people that you actually look up to in regards to the similarities of your business, your mindset, excuse me, or even like the core of who you are? Like, who are some people that you actually, kind of model?
So it's funny, man. I agree. I 100% agree with you when it comes to, the people that you surround yourself with definitely shape, your reality in the next 10, 15, 20 years of your life. So for me, I always strive to, even if we wasn't, um, like I talk to you every type of day. I've never been a talk to you every type of day person. I've always been that person that will reach out and check on you though, make sure you're good. So a lot of my friends, and this is one of the things I pride myself on, which is funny, but everyone in my circle that's in my close circle has never asked me for like money or anything like that. Like everyone always is able to take care of themselves. Everyone's already striving and doing better. And that's one of the things that I never could understand. Like, how do you get into a situation where people are asking you for things or whatever, or in that sort of, what I'm saying, like environment? So for me, like I always cultivated like my friendships and stuff like that. I made sure that everyone was in a good state. I made sure that everyone wasn't about drama. I set the expectations of what the situation or in the friendships and things would be. So I've literally had essentially a peaceful life because of that. So just kind of bringing it back full circle.
Hold on. I can't let that go. I
Go
can't
ahead.
let that go. Man, you set the standard, and I hope this interview don't turn, but I feel like it's going to turn. But you set the standard for the people that you chose to be around as far as your friendships. And when you're speaking, you just spark something in me, Cannon, because um, the people that can be around the individual, like I said before, they can either kill or they can bring drama or they can enhance and they can help succeed. And I think that that is something very important that needs to be elaborated on. And hearing the fact that you have no drama, no peace. I mean, you may have a ruffle feather here or there, but being that for the most part you don't, because you actually planned your life. You strategically said, this is what I'm going to allow. This is what I'm not going to allow, because all of it plays a part of your success in your business and even how you think and how you operate, right? So elaborate more on the whole friendship entitlement, because that right there pulled my goat right there, man.
No, for sure, for sure. It, you know, it was one of those things that I didn't even realize how important it was. You know what I mean? It was just one of those things that just came naturally to me, that I was just like, nah, certain people that I don't vibe with. Their energy isn't like mine, so I make sure that they're at a distance. We're not that close. But it's certain people that I was like, okay, I see where this person is at. This is what the dynamic of our relationship will be, or whatever. And then they'll always keep it at that, because that's the standard that I set, and that's the standard that I allow. So people don't bring certain energy to me. They may have that energy with someone else. Their friendship may be totally different with someone else, but with me, their energy is always the same way, because I was like, hey, this is how it's going to be. And I set that standard. This is what I bring to you. This is what I accept. If you bring anything else, I'm not going to, accept it. I'm not going to even entertain it. And they're just like, okay, well, this is how it is with Raheem. I know I can't really talk to him about X, Y, and Z. So, for me, I felt like that was always the best way to do it. You know what you were getting out of me, you know what you can give me, and we both were in sync when it comes to that level. So for me, it was just always extremely important. Like, people call me, and at first I was like, dang, man, everyone always calls me about, business or money, or, what I'm saying, finance or stocks or investments. That's all the conversations I get. But I realized, I was like, that's because I said it that way. So people don't talk to me about like, oh yeah, my obviously small talk, like, yeah, my wife's doing well and stuff like that. But people generally don't have those type of conversations with me. It's always about like what their business idea is, what they're working on, how to implement a new system. Like, that's just the relationships that I have. And it's something that I've come to accept. Like, I appreciate it. I enjoy it because it's bringing me a ton of peace. Like, I don't have to worry about, oh, my homeboys hit me up like, man, I just got in a fight at the club. Like, I don't have those type of situations ever. Right. Like, no one ever tells me something like that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because when you position yourself and when you command your life, I think it'll flow in the way that you command it. And I think the reason why a lot of people deal with those type of situations is because they just don't plan their life. They don't plan what they accept, what they want to accept, what they tolerate, what they won't tolerate. So they have this saying that says, we just going with the flow. And going with the flow, number one, don't get you paid. Go with the flow does not keep sanity, in your mind. And so I think that is very, very important, man. What about family, man? How do you balance that with your business?
No, that's a great question. So I feel like we have a very close-knit family. Like, so it's essentially my mom, my grandmother, my uncle, my first cousin, my brother, my sister, and my other sister. So it's like, that's pretty much it. Like, it's not like a huge family to where everyone's chopping it up and talking. Like, I have extended family. Obviously, I have great aunts and things of that nature. But as far as our family, our close-knit family, it's really amazing, man. Like, they're super supportive. I feel like one of the things that I love about them is that they're genuinely great people, man. Like, my sister is going to be an orthodontist here soon, or a dentist, whichever she decides. And she just graduated college, and she's just an amazing person. Like, she's like, my brother's an amazing person. He's the type of person that and I'm the oldest. I'm actually the example for my family. So I'm like, I'm the oldest male in the family. I'm the one who makes sure that everything is good. Hey, that pressure, bro, that pressure.
You gotta bring that back home, man.
Yeah, I got to, man. I got to. So I'm running the first lap to make sure when I pass the baton, everybody's in a great position, right?
Oh,
but yeah, my brother's the type of person, man, to where like he'll see like somebody on the side of the road or something like that, or in the middle lane, and like he called me the other day and he was like, man, it was crazy. This lady was in the middle lane, everybody just kept passing her. Yeah, and I actually stopped my car, checked and saw what was going on. She ran out of gas. I pushed her car to the gas station or whatever. Like, that's the type of person my brother is. Yeah. So when I say like my family is like genuinely good people, and I really appreciate and love that we were. My mom instilled such good values in us, and was just an exceptional mother, man. Like, it's one of those things that I I don't know, man. Like I know everybody doesn't get that experience, and everyone's like, oh, you're raised by a single mother. It must have been so hard. But like for us, it really wasn't that hard, man. Like it was, we obviously we lived in certain, what I'm saying, like Section 8s and stuff like that growing up and things like that. But we got to houses. You know what I'm saying? Mom worked hard and got us to a house and got us to a subdivision. Like, from 13 up, I was pretty much in a housing area. You know what I mean? Like growing up in the suburbs, and my mom worked hard to make sure that happened. So I don't know. I just felt like we had a really great upbringing, and I don't know, man. I love family. And then even going further, like when I met my wife, one of the things that stood out to me was her family. They're super family oriented, and they're a bigger family. So like, her grandmother, my grandmother-in-law,
Mhm.
she had like 4 daughters, right? Each of her daughters are all married. They all have kids, and they all stay in the same area, like the same like vicinity. Well, they moved from, they're all originally from like Riceboro, Georgia, which is like very small. You wouldn't know them unless you love like the rice or something like that, because they have rice festivals. But they,
Man, I ain't never heard of that now.
yeah, yeah, they got like little rice festivals or whatever. But
Well, they got like rice cakes, rice, pork rice, pork
hey,
rice.
a little bit of everything, man. A little bit of everything, man. I haven't had the pleasure of going to one yet, but I definitely want to attend one. But a little bit of everything. It's like a big deal out there. Before COVID, obviously, with COVID, stuff kind of chilled out a little bit. But they all kind of move around the same Jacksonville area. So it's like, we all attend church together a lot of times. We all, because my aunt-in-law, Ludina Britton, she's actually the pastor of Vision X Enrichment Center. So that's the church that I actually attend. And she's taught me a lot. She's poured into me a lot. She's a prophet as well as a pastor. So she foresees a lot. She teaches me a lot when it comes to just understanding my gift and the effect that I have on other people. So she's been, instrumental and just incredible, man.
Yeah.
Just along that scope. But going back to it, the original point I was making was that her family was like so amazing. I felt like I got so much more than just an amazing wife. I got an amazing family on top of that all embraced me and loved me and was just like, hugging me immediately, like, oh, you're a part of the family now. You know what I mean? And you can't, people don't think about that. Like a lot of times people go into toxic situations to where it's like, well, and I hate to use the word toxic. I know it's like an overused word, but you know what I'm saying? People go into situations where it's like, their girlfriend or their wife or their fiance or whatever it is at the time doesn't get along with their family. Now you're already in a terrible situation. Like to me, and I'm not saying, it's like that all the time. And I understand that people have different problems and, things of that nature. But when you're evaluating the most important thing you can do, obviously God picks, what I'm saying, like our wife at the end of the day. But, he gives us free will. So with the free will, I feel like you need to make sure the most important decision you make is the partner that you choose for the rest of your life. Right. And I've made the mistake, a few times previously. But God made sure that I got it right. You know what I'm saying? Like God made sure that I got it right.
At least let mine look good because I'm trying.
For sure, man. For sure, man. I'm sure she will, man.
And you heard the house. Like you just stay here. I'll be back. No. So what about leaving a legacy? Do you have kids? Do you have any kids right now?
So no, I don't actually have any kids currently. I've never had kids. It was one of those things that I was like, man, I don't want to have a kid until I can give them a certain lifestyle that I want to give them, right? That was very important to me. And I mean, I commend the people that had kids earlier, you know what I'm saying? And was able to still provide a great lifestyle for them, but that just wasn't my path.
Okay, and that's a smart path that you're taking. And again, it proves the fact that you are planning out your life, you strategically designing and commanding your life, and it brings so much peace in in your life and in your world. Now, leaving legacy, of course, we both know it doesn't always mean to leave something behind for kids, your seed, and inheritance. Eventually, yes, but leaving something behind for another individual to either pick up or to proceed further in life, So, what does leaving a legacy means to you? And before you answer that question, one philosophy that I have is your first name is your identity, and your last name is your legacy. And so, one thing we have to understand is that if I am put into this world, if I am put into this earth, there is a reason as to why I'm here. Sometimes it goes above and beyond the business. Sometimes it goes beyond you just helping people, but there have to be something in the core that you want to leave behind for another individual. What is that?
So, I mean, that's a really powerful question, man. For me, and you can kind of see it with the Canon movement, right? So my last name is Canon. Canon movement, it was all a part of that. That's part of the legacy that I want to leave. I want to leave a legacy of progression, of perseverance. Um, that you can work hard and achieve anything that you want, no matter what your background and lifestyle is, right? And that's always the ongoing message. But it's one of those things that resonates with me, and I realized that I've been able to accomplish it through lifelong learning, right? So just committing to that lifestyle, like you just got to constantly learn every single day. So one of the initiatives that I want to do, as far as when I launch the nonprofit side in the future, will be that we're giving out, free books. We're doing book clubs and things of that nature, because I really want to empower people to do that. And to feel comfortable in that environment. Like, yo, we're all reading, we're chopping up, we're learning more, we're doing these book clubs, and it's just getting that knowledge. Because it's the only reason I feel like I separated, yourself. When you look back, right, and you look at your your graduating class, and you see like where everyone is, right, and you're like, okay, well, this person's here. It's not a competition, but you're just like, okay, well, this person's here, this person's here. And you notice that over the years, you just kind of slowly start to pull away, right? What's the difference? You know what I'm saying? What's the differentiator? I never went to a college. I was never a college type person. I knew at the age of, like 18 or 16, really, I was like, I'm not going to college. Like, that's not for me. I'm an entrepreneur. I knew it. Like, before it was popular, before Instagram and all this kind of stuff was popping, like, I already knew that in my mind. I was like, I'm going to make this happen. This is the drive. This is the spirit that I have. Yeah. And no matter what, I'm going to make it happen, right? Yeah. So for me, and it's crazy even thinking like that. When I go back and I really think, I'm like, man, like, how did I have that type of mindset? Like, I was 18 years old.
That's why I just said that is so weird, because when I just literally went back to when I was like young, like 8, 9, 11, 12. And I remember I would walk in rooms and buildings and I would say, they don't even, like, literally thoughts would come in my mind. They don't even know that I'm a millionaire. They don't even know that I'm this person, that I'm that person. I will walk in rooms literally and just think that I carried myself in a way like that. I always walked like that. I talked like that. I speak like that. I did my work like that. And so, like, when you started saying it, just started bringing things back to reality. And like, it's kind of like, even in the form of rejection, and I know we're talking about, the question, you answering the question that I asked, but even the form of rejection, I really didn't take it as a hurt, because I just thought, these people don't really know who I am. They don't know what I'm about to become, like, for real. And so when you were saying that, it kind of brought it back to remembrance. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. That's perfectly fine, man. It's perfectly fine. That's what it's all about. But when I was 18, just kind of bringing it back to it, I was like trading stocks. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm like, I don't even know where I got the idea from. Like, people ask me, they're like, yo, how are you doing that at 18 years old? Now, keep in mind, I'm 32 right now. So that was, 14 years ago? You know what I mean? Like, so 14 years ago, I'm like, who was talking about trading stocks? Like, I think 14 years ago, we might have had Facebook, but people weren't on it like that. I think it was like MySpace at that time. You know what I mean? Like, so for me to be like trading stocks legit and trying to figure that whole game out, and like, just, I knew that there was a way for me to, make it happen. I just wasn't sure of the way yet. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I didn't know, like you mentioned earlier, it was like, how did you know your gift would take you to the next level, right? I didn't know that was going to happen when I was that age. I was just like, I don't know what it is, but I know I'm not going to work for anyone else at some point here. And I'm going to figure out how to make that happen one way or another. And I think one of the first books I read was like Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, right? When I was like 24. And that sparked me. And after that, it was just like, man, like, God always brought the right people in my life at the right time. When I was at Verizon, you share this story as well. When I was at Verizon, a guy came in. His name is Mr. Page, right? Older white gentleman or whatever, super dope. He saw me, and God just told him, like, yo, ask this guy out to lunch or whatever. So he asked me. He was like, hey, let's link up for lunch. I want to show you something. Because, we had such a good exchange. Like I told you, I was good at sales. People love me, whatever, right? So we actually linked, and, he showed me all of his properties, everything he had going on. And we just kind of like, build a relationship over time and over the years off of that. Just him, giving me game and knowledge when it came to like real estate, because that's what he did. And for me, it was just all about possibilities. I would look up stuff on Zillow, and, it wasn't Zillow back then, but I would look up different houses and drive around homes. My mom exposed me to stuff like that. But he actually lived in places where it was like really huge houses and stuff like that. So when I was like early age, 22, 23, 24, it was like one of those things that I got to be exposed to. So exposure is huge. And that's one of the things that I always tell people, like, a lot of times people don't know the possibilities because they're not exposed to it, unless you're just an outlier and God just put that thought and that vision in your mind, which he did for you, obviously, and he did for me as well. He was just like, yo, this is going to be your life. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get to this point,
Yep.
but, I'm going to work.
In some cases, still trying to figure out how, but that's the whole beauty of God. That's the artistic of how God is. And so, yeah, absolutely. I agree.
100%, bro, 100%. But yeah, man, it's one of those things that I don't know, man. I'm very thankful and blessed to, be in the position I am in now.
Wow, man. I think that God plays a significant part in business and in life, period. How important is it for us to have that ear to hear God, to make right decisions, whether if it's business decisions or life decisions, friendships, to choose? How important is that?
Oh man, it's the number one thing. At the end of the day, it's like you can't even sugarcoat that. Obviously, we have the free will to make the decisions that we're making, but at the end of the day, if you're not listening to that little small voice in the back of your head that's telling you like, nah, this person may not be the right person to be around you. I think I wrote, maybe a post about that recently where I was just like, people beg for peace or beg for certain things, but their actions don't align with it. Yeah. So what they're doing is they're saying, okay, I want this lifestyle, God, but I'm not willing to change anything to have this lifestyle. Right. I want peace. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to deal with drama, but I'm entertained by the nonsense. I'm constantly consuming content that is nonsense. So I'm watching these reality shows that just built off of drama. I'm watching, I'm around these people that go to the club and, do these situations or whatever that ends in, disaster. I'm around people that constantly are always falling out with their friends and calling me like, oh man, I can't believe this person did X, Y, and Z to me or whatever. They're fake, blah, blah, blah. I'm constantly around people who can't hold a job, who constantly blame other people for their mistakes. So it's just like, you're not aligning yourself with what your true desires are. And you're asking God why, but it's on you at the end of the day because you have that free will. So, it's just one of those things that it's the most important thing. You know what I'm saying? You have to listen. You can't just say, okay, hey, I want this. You can't just pray for this without listening and actually doing the actions that follow up with it.
Yeah, faith without works is dead, man. And I wish people will definitely, really take heed into that, because you are what you follow and you are what you entertain in a way. And I think that's very important because, like you said, with the whole drama piece and all of this blaming other people, if that's what you entertain, that's what's going to follow you, Mm-hmm. And your life will always follow those type of things. But if you believe in, I believe if you believe in, success, prosperity, and not even so much of that, but joy, peace, real peace within, stability, like I said, growing, succeed, self-development, growth development, that is what's going to follow you. And hate to get all technical and spiritual on, where's my show? I can. The Bible does say that, miracle signs will follow those who believe. So if miracle signs and wonders follow me, that means that I entertain it. And so I think that's very important. I think that that's what you have done throughout your whole movement. And like I said, the canon movement, I believe, will leave a legacy, and I believe will be something that young men and young women can look up to and say, hey, this is something that I know I want to be, I want to do, or something along the lines of what, their dream or aspirations are. I want to ask you this last thing. What is something that you can just simply encourage, empower, and help evolve the other people that are listening to right now? What is on your heart?
Wow, that's a great question. So what I would tell people, that are grinding, that are, working hard, that inspire to be something in life, is just genuinely look inside of yourself and evaluate. And this is tough love I'm about to give you, right? Evaluate, if your goal is, to be at $10,000 a month, $100,000 a month, if your goal is to be, 100 pounds lighter, 150 pounds lighter, 50 pounds lighter, whatever your goal is, I want you to, truly evaluate what your habits are. You know what I mean? Like, I want you to take it down to that micro level to what's my habits? You know what I mean? Like, if I want to do this, and I'm not saying start off with sprinting, I'm saying start off with walking. You know what I mean? Just walking towards those habits of being a better person, of achieving your goal. For the people that, and one of the things that, and I'll be transparent, one of the things I struggled with at church initially when I was going back and I was getting back into it was I, and I always try to share a story about me so people understand. So I struggled with the fact that a lot of people in church, they had faith, but they didn't have the work. And I was like, why do all these people praise God, but they're struggling? They're always asking, praying, like, God, please help me with my finances. God, please help me with this bill. And I was like, the type of person I am, I'm very intentional.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be around people who weren't in struggle situations. Like I didn't want to be around people like that. I'm like, y'all always struggling. This makes no sense to me. It doesn't compute with my brain. If something is wrong, I change it. I pray about it, but I do the work to make it happen. So what I'm saying today is have the faith, you know what I mean? Pray. Tell God what your needs are. Trust God to make it happen, but do the work behind it. So faith, without works is dead. They always say that. It's a famous saying, but I wanted to just dig even deeper to it. When you think of works, think of your habits. Think of your routine. If you got to be to work at 7 a.m., if you got to be working 8 a.m., whatever that case is, what are you doing at 6? Why are you staying up till 2 a.m. and your bills can't get paid? Or whatever the situation is. Like your routines and your habits will shape your life. And I'll leave it with that.
Your habits will shape your life. Why you just drop the mic like that? That is, I'm gonna keep that in my mind all day today. Because even today, I mean, I've done a lot of things, a plethora of things I have accomplished and done, but your habits will shape your life. Dude, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think that a lot of people who are going to watch this and watch the replay are going to appreciate that, the truth that you give, the integrity of who you are, and the sincerity that I feel even on the show. I thank you for that, because not a lot of people, number one, you don't know me from a can of paint, and that would even just say, hey, I'm going to consider to come and see what this guy is doing, what he's talking about, and just to be, just to share what I do. So I appreciate you for that. But people, I want you to go out with that. I want you to hear everything that he said. Go back, replay this, play it over and over and over until it get in your mind, until it get in your spirit, and you actually start producing. And for some of you, reproducing. And I want you to just keep this close to your heart. Cannon, just stay on for a few minutes. Guys, I pray that you have a good day. And again, thank you so much for tuning in to the Darron O'Neal Show. God bless you. Be safe. Peace.